Here are the most common mixing mistakes made by beginners and the steps that you can take to help avoid them in your future mixes. Number 1, using too much EQ. If your EQ looks like this, you're doing too much. This will result in your mix sounding weak, thin, and overprocessed. If you don't actually hear a problem in the frequency spectrum, there's no need to overdo the EQ. Take a look at this EQ here for a vocal that I mixed recently. Sometimes less is more. Number 2, adding compression to everything. Most drum samples from the kits that people are downloading today off the internet are already processed. And as a beginner, you're likely going to be making things sound worse as you add more compression to things that don't even need it in the first place. You're adding it to every individual sound, every bus, and then also again on the master. Too much compression is going to make the mix sound dull because you're squashing the dynamics. Take the time to fully understand what compression is and what it's meant for. Study the basic settings on a compressor and how each setting affects the sound. Compression can make things sound terrible if you don't know what you're doing. So don't take any shortcuts when it comes to how and when to use a compressor. Number 3, turning up the bass too loud. Everybody wants that loud 808 or that punchy kick that you can feel from across the room. But having too much low end in your mix can make things sound unbalanced and cause issues down the road. A lot of beginners don't even have the right speakers to hear the low end frequencies in their mix accurately. So I'd suggest investing in a good pair of studio monitors and acoustic treatment as soon as possible. And a good tip to remember is that when it comes to low end, there are other ways to make things sound loud without necessarily turning up the volume fader. Saturation, distortion, parallel compression, and clipping are all techniques that will help get your low end to be perceived as loud. Number 4, using too much reverb. This is an easy mistake to make as a beginner because reverb just makes things sound cool and interesting. But the truth is that too much reverb can really wash out your mix. It can also make a vocal or an instrument seem overprocessed at times if it's overdone. My suggestion is to only add subtle amounts of reverb in your mix to begin with. You don't want to necessarily hear the reverb as much as you want to feel it. Bring it to a volume level where you don't necessarily know that it's actually there when it's engaged. But when you turn it off, you know that something is missing. Reverb has the tendency to sit on top of other elements and instruments in your track, so you have to be cautious with how much reverb you add to your mix. Number 5, thinking too much. As a beginner, it's easy to get too technical with mixing. You're learning all of these new concepts and plugins and you want to do things the right way. But in mixing, there truly is no right way. Every song that you come across and that you work on is going to be different from the other. You have to experiment and trust your ears in the process. Let go of all the technicalities and the walls that you think that have been put up around you to box you in as a mixer. Get out of your head, mix a song how you see fit, and don't look back. All right, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.